Hello everybody, it's GirlGotGame and welcome to another Gander video. Today, I'm going to be taking a gander at Touchstarved, a dark romance visual novel. This is the demo. I've been seeing this go around on Twitter like mad this past few days. It's in the middle of its Kickstarter right now. It's being developed by Red Spring Studio. And as you can see by the ambiance and beautiful art, I absolutely had to give this a try. I also need to just save my ears a little bit here. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. But anyway, yes. Let me read you the story for this gorgeous looking thing. So, you were born cursed, with hands that twist the mind of any human you touch. Desperation leads you to the shadowy city of Eridia, where your fate intertwines with 5 monstrous strangers. Each can offer you salvation or damnation. How far will you go to cure yourself? There you go. So that's the story we've got here. We've got a gorgeous cast of characters to choose from, it looks like. Let's jump in and see what's happening. This is a demo of the prologue and not the finished product. Thank you. Thank you. Content warning. Touchstarved is intended for an older audience. It contains mature content that includes, but is not limited to, horror, graphic violence, strong language, alcohol and drug references, injury and dismemberment. Player discretion and viewer discretion is advised. If you accept the embargo terms and content warning, please click to proceed. Okay. Tutorial. In Touchstarved, your choices matter. The decisions you make may result in unique dialogue, interactions, or even choices in red text which contain exclusive content. Try playing through the demo more than once and choosing different options. You might even uncover a secret ending. And remember, there are no wrong choices, only interesting ones. Choose wisely and save often. Put that on a shirt. I need that. Choose your name. Ooh. Need a good gothic name. I'm gonna be... This is dumb. Call me Gothica. Yep, that's my name. Submit. Choose your pronouns. Ooh, I love the text box. That's gorgeous. Nice. Options. They, them, she, her, he, him. I'm gonna go she, her. This world began to unravel long before you were born. It began with fogfall. Spectral mist bled from the seams where reality wore so thin it split. Alright, I'm just gonna see if I can, like, click on this at all. No. Okay, so no explanation on these. I was just wondering if it was. And from that fog emerged monsters. Inhuman beings with unnatural powers. Some possessed language and intellect. Others were mindless beasts driven by little more than the desire to slaughter. As cities fell and unrest spread, humans united in their fear while monsters thrived in the chaos. And then there's you. Gothica. You're not even sure if you're human. You were born cursed with hands that alter the minds of anyone you touch. Choose your backstory. Yes, this is pretty neat. You can choose what your backstory is, and that's going to play into your dialogue options. So let's see what we have. We have the unnamed, a fallen oracle. You were raised as an oracle in a remote temple. The priest claimed your touch bestowed enlightenment, but a visiting mage revealed your curse for what it is. Following the mage's word, you fled in search of the cenobium. By the way, I want to apologize profusely if I am mispronouncing any and all of these names. My apologies. You regularly experience unnatural premonitions that rattle your body and soul. An innate sixth sense gives you a heightened awareness of hidden supernatural presences around you. I like that. The Hound, a forsaken thief. You were raised by society's outcasts, criminals who accepted you when nobody else would. Your partner in crime, a friend since childhood, helped you steal enough money for a cure, then betrayed you. They left you with only enough coin to travel to the cenobium, your last hope. You have sharply honed social intuition. You can survive and even thrive in the violent underbelly of any city, using your experience with the underworld to get ahead. Ooh, I do like intuition. And the alchemist, an abandoned mage. An exiled cenobium mage took you in as a child, raising you as her apprentice. She seemed to take pity on your curse, but you discovered that she was cultivating you as a test subject. You fled to the cenobium seeking a cure. You are an experienced spellcaster with encyclopedic knowledge of alchemy, spellcraft, and history. With a little observation, you can identify the subtle effects of magic. Alright, which one of these speaks to me? So the Hound is interesting because it's the least magic-y of all of them. I'm gonna go that one, actually. I'm curious how I'm gonna get by without a lot of magic on my side. Your name is Gothica. You selected she, her pronouns. Your backstory is the Hound. Is this correct? It is. Look at this, it's so pretty. The wasteland stretches as far as the eye can see. There's nothing out here but death, the ever-present stench of decay, and countless sun-bleached bones cast like seeds across the barren land. Actually, just give me 1 second. I need to check something real fast. Okay. Yeah, we're good. Sorry about that. Just something bugging out on my OBS, but we're good. I could say death doesn't scare me, but to tell the truth, I'm desperate. It's been 2 weeks since I joined a caravan bound across the wastes. Finding a group that would accept me was a trial in itself. As rations grew sparse and my canteen ran dry, I began to despair. But then I saw it. Wow. Eridia, the city of knowledge, one of the last bastions of humanity left in the world and home to the famous academy called the Cenobium. All of the world's knowledge gathered in one place. If there is anywhere I'll find a cure for my curse, it's there. All that stands between me and a cure is a final stretch of salt-soaked wastes. Or so I think until I see the first tendrils of fog snaking beneath the wagon. Uh-oh. Is this fogfall? My stomach sinks at the very whisper of it. A silent storm more devastating than fire. Dangerous in cities, but a death sentence beyond them. Uh-oh. A thick blanket of fog engulfs us, smothering out the lantern's light. The wagon lurches to a stop. This is giving me, like, strong Darkest Dungeon vibes. Just the beginning of it. An eerie silence heavy as the mist falls over us. The only warning we get is a strangled scream. No! The cry dissolves into wet gurgling. Oh. Then the wagon violently pitches to the side. I hit the ground hard, the air punched from my lungs. When I open my eyes, adrenaline lends sudden, awful clarity to the carnage around me. Ew. Well, that's not good. A trader I once shared bread with lies face down in the mud, their back reduced to long strings of torn muscle, gleaming gristle, and exposed bone. Bodies litter the wasteland. Hello. I try to rise, but my ankle explodes with pain so blinding, white blooms across my vision. Only when my eyes adjust do I see the dark shape in front of me. Well, don't you look friendly. A soulless stoops over the twisted form of a caravaner. I freeze, but it swivels its head. A dozen bulging eyes twitch in my direction and blink as one. The soulless lets out an ear-splitting shriek and runs at me. But right before it reaches me, the beast barrels past, vanishing into the mist. Distantly, a horse screams in the dark. I need to move now. I take off, running deeper into the haze. The fog is so thick that I fear I'm headed in the wrong direction, until I see a dim pinprick of light emanating from the shadow of a spire. It's faint, but it's enough. I came too far to die here. Rapid footsteps echo all around me. I turn in circles, frantically searching the opaque mist for the source, but the fogfall twists and stretches sound. Suddenly, the caravan's driver bursts forth from the fog. Our eyes meet too late. He slams into me, knocking me to the ground, and slips in a patch of mud. The soulless falls on him as soon as he slows. It catches the driver by his throat and rakes his stomach with razor-sharp claws. He comes apart like wet paper, spilling intestines and viscera in a steaming tide. Fighting the urge to heave, I claw frantically through the slippery muck for a handhold. Shit! My hand catches on the jagged edge of a rib jutting up from the water. Ow! Bandages unfurl around the gouge torn deep into my palm. The pain's quickly forgotten when a hand closes around my wrist. Can you stand? One of the travelers from the caravan leans over me. We need to run! They reach for my hand, and I realize too late that my bandages have come undone. Oh, interesting. Can they touch you as long as you're bandaged, then? No! Don't touch me! The sensation of their thumb brushing the back of my hand sends a shiver down my spine. All it takes is one touch, and in the space of a breath, my curse takes hold. Oh, gosh. Well, that's pretty terrifying. Their lips peel back into a deranged grin. Oh, no. No. I've seen this face countless times before. This is my curse. Madness of my own making. Their grip on my hand tightens until pain radiates from my knuckles. Let me go! Suddenly, clammy hands crush my throat, choking off my breath. Die! Die, 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 die! Spit bubbles at the corners of their mouth and flecks my face. The edges of my vision darken as my lungs scream for air. Help! I try to scream, but the fingers squeezing my windpipe cut me off. The more I struggle, the tighter their grip grows. My pulse hammers in my ears, slowing with each thudding beat. This can't be happening. I'm going to die. And not because of the fogfall or the soulless, but because of my own curse. Tears sting my eyes. No, no, no. Not here. Not like this. The hands drop from my neck, leaving me wheezing for air. My lungs burn with each ragged cough. My vision clears and the traveler's face takes shape, hovering inches from mine. Lips still split in that macabre smile, even as blood seeps between their teeth. They give one last shuddering breath, then slump over the claws hooked through their stomach. We've been extremely lucky with this whole soulless thing so far. The soulless shoves the body aside, and the glowing eyes studying its leathery skin thin. Oh, thin. The eyes thin, as though grinning. Haha. Terrifying. There's a flash of claws. Red spills across my vision. I thought there'd be pain, but as I sink into the murky water, all I can feel is the grit of silt filling my mouth and the icy embrace of shallow water. Distantly, I notice an arm resting among an outcrop of reeds. Mine, neatly severed at the elbow. It should have taken both arms. Without them, maybe I could have survived. Maybe I could have had a home. Instead, I'll die cold, alone, and face down in a desolate wasteland. A fitting end for a monstrosity like me. But that was not to be the case. If this is death, it's not as bad as I feared. The cold is gone, as is the choking stench of bog water. I could drift forever, cocooned in oblivion until all thought and sensation vanished. No curse, nobody howling at me in madness and terror, Nothing at all. The thought has a terrible appeal to it. But the next moment, I take a reflexive breath. Air pours into my lungs, then out again in a ragged gasp. Feeling comes flooding back. Warm cloth on my bare skin. A firm surface underneath me. A strange tang of sulfur in the air.
Do not be afraid.
Hello. I twist my head toward the voice. Tears flood my bleary vision at the bright glow of lamplight.
Try not to move.
The voice is calm, steady, and commanding, but more importantly, it's a stranger's voice. One thought cuts through my mental fog. I have no idea who this is, and I'm completely at their mercy. Stay away from me! My words come out in little more than a creaky whisper. I clamp my mouth shut, hating how weak and helpless I sound.
No.
No? Who the hell is this? I manage to push myself up on one elbow, but my head swims and my surroundings give an alarming lurch.
Ah, a stubborn patient.
I don't have the strength to dignify that with a response. Instead, I pull the sheet up higher and wipe my eyes until my vision clears. Woo. The stranger towers over my prone form. Warm light reflects off his pristine medical coat. I instinctively shrink back, and that's when I notice that I'm completely naked except for a thin linen sheet. Naked, lying on a low cot with a pair of sharp golden eyes watching my every move. The man's gaze flickers to my exposed, unbandaged hands. Did I get my arm back? I plunge my hands under the sheet to hide them from sight, though it's too late. He must have noticed what they look like. Strange. Cursed. Inhuman. I brace myself for his inevitable suspicion and disgust, but his expression doesn't even flicker from that courteous smile. He just watches in placid silence as I struggle to make sense of my surroundings. Where am I? Who are you?
Be calm. You are safe here.
Whoever this is, he clearly has no idea who or what I am. I've never been safe anywhere with anyone. The only people I ever trusted betrayed me for a fat purse of coin. I scowl, pulling the sheet protectively around myself. Where are my clothes? The man's golden eyes narrow slightly. A sharp sigh rustles the papers in his hands.
I see you are not to be dissuaded. Your clothes were torn to shreds when I found you, but I procured replacements.
Quite the doctor's office. With a soft creak, he stands from his chair, giving me a better view of my surroundings. I seem to be in some sort of medical clinic. Bottles of silvery alchemical concoctions line the counters in neat rows. The air makes my nose twitch, a faint whiff of smoke and something distinctly metallic that I can't quite place. The doctor produces a large, dense bundle of cloth, which he sets at the foot of my cot. He's easily a head taller than most, and I have to crane my neck to look at him. I should be polite if I can, especially since I don't know who this is, what he can do, or what he wants with me. Thank you. Man, I am jealous of your hair, sir.
You are welcome. I will leave you to get dressed.
With a curt nod, he leaves through a narrow door. I hear a soft click as the lock turns behind him. I count to 3 in the sudden silence. When I don't hear any more footsteps, I reach for the bundle of clothes. An itch on my elbow stops me short. I reach down absently to rub at it, then freeze when my fingers meet a neat line of stitches. Ah, you sewed my arm back on? I know what I saw. That beast took my arm clean off. And yet my arm shows no sign of injury apart from the black stitches poking through my skin. I gingerly flex my fingers, feeling my heart race at the sensation. That's a nifty trick. This is impossible. I should be dead, or at the very least gasping out my last breaths. I squeeze my eyes shut, waiting for the pleasant dream to unravel, to wake up bleeding out in the swamp. But nothing happens. The seconds tick by, and my arm remains resolutely healed, my surroundings pristine and quiet. In numb disbelief, I reach for the replacement clothes and begin stiffly pulling them on. They're thicker and warmer than mine were, with a black woolen cloak to go with them. But there's one thing still missing. My bandages. The golden-eyed man didn't leave me with any, even though I know he saw my hands. I slide off the bed and take a few unsteady steps toward one of the drawers. If this is indeed a doctor's clinic, there must be bandages somewhere. I start opening drawers at random, and of course that's when the door swings open once more.
Are you looking for something?
I whirl around, clutching a thick roll of clean bandages. I try to step back from him, but my legs bump up against the edge of the cot.
Your caution is understandable. Though if I meant you any harm, you would know.
That doesn't make me feel better in the slightest. But he makes no move toward me, so I quickly wind the bandages around my hands. The glowing scars and mottled skin disappear under a layer of clean white cotton.
May I ask why you need additional bandages?
I clench my jaw. I knew it would only be a matter of time before he asked about my hands, though the way he does it is strangely roundabout. There's no answer I could give without raising unwelcome suspicion, so I just shake my head and finish tying the bandages in silence.
I can only help if you tell me what ails you.
An involuntary snort of laughter escapes me. Where would I even begin? Would he even believe me if I told him? No, best to keep my curse to myself for now and learn more about him first. Who are you?
You may call me Kuros.
And where exactly am I?
Eridia, which I assume was your caravan's destination. I can think of nowhere else for a group of travelers to go.
Eridia? So I made it to the City of Knowledge after all. I should feel relieved, but all I can manage is a vague sense of increasing unease. How did I end up here?
I brought you to my clinic, of course. You were the only survivor from the caravan, barely clinging to life. You needed immediate treatment.
Which you provided?
Yes.
He says it so simply, as if I'm a small child and he's explaining basic addition to me. I frown and flex the fingers on my recently healed arm. Aside from being a bit stiff, it feels fine, thoroughly attached to me. How long were we out? You're saying that you stitched my arm back on?
Pardon?
A Solus attacked the caravan. It ripped everyone to shreds. It tore my arm clean off! But when I woke up here... I trail off, bewildered. I've never heard of any magic that could heal a mortal wound like that. What kind of person could do such a thing? I'm curious if we had picked one of the other ones and we'd be like, oh yes, the spell he probably used was blah 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 blah, you know. The doctor, Kuros, pinches the bridge of his nose. He sits back down in his chair, quiet for a long time.
I do not know where you come from, but Eridia is the city of knowledge and deadly secrets alike. Information is power, and it is most unwise to give or receive it freely. Since you have refused to divulge your secrets, I will not divulge mine. I do not even know your name.
I was just...
You are new to Eridia, so I will overlook the specific breach of etiquette. However, you should not expect others to extend the same courtesy. Do you understand?
He looks pointedly at my freshly bandaged hands. Loath though I am to admit it, he has a point. I'm also a complete stranger to him, and if he's telling the truth, he saved my life. I take a deep, steadying breath. This time, when I speak, I sound a bit more like myself. Gothica. My name is Gothica.
It is a pleasure to meet you, Gothica.
I like your smile, you're cute. There's a little more warmth in his smile, his polite demeanor back in an instant. Thank you for saving my life. I chance a smile in return. Even if he won't explain how he did the impossible, there's no doubt in my mind that I'd be dead if not for Kuros.
Think nothing of it.
I'm not sure if he's just being excessively courteous, but his words only raise more urgent questions. But I have to ask, why did you save me? You don't know me. The question seems to startle Kuros.
I could hardly leave you to die in the waste. Assisting those in need is the very essence of a doctor's duty.
I've never met a doctor who also handed out free clothes. My fingers find the edge of the cloak. There's a subtle but delicately embroidered pattern around the hem. I try not to think about what kind of price Kuros might ask for such well-made clothes.
No, I suppose not. Forgive my presumption. I rarely come across so fascinating a patient.
I blink. What did he just say?
Ah, I simply meant that few would cling to life so resolutely, or brave such a perilous journey to Eridia.
Uh-huh.
I could not help being curious about you, Gothica.
His voice dips to a soft murmur, and he abruptly looks away from me. You're pretty curious yourself.
Am I?
Well, I haven't forgotten about my arm. I wiggle my intact fingers at him.
Clearly not.
But you haven't asked me for any payment either.
I require none from you. Travelers do not have an abundance of coin, and it would be unethical to leave you destitute in a strange place.
I fall silent, unsure what to say to that. Nobody would help a horror like me for free. There has to be some kind of catch or trick, right? A loud knock at the front door stops our conversation cold and spares me from having to say anything else.
Duty calls. Unfortunately, you are not my only patient today.
The knocking grows more insistent, and Kuros lets out a tired sigh.
Please wait your turn.
Though he says it quietly, the clamor on the other side of the door abruptly stops.
Do you need anything before you leave, Gothica?
Oh. Between the soulless attack and my miraculous survival, I'd almost forgotten why I came to Eridia in the first place. I need directions to the cenobium.
The cenobium?
Doesn't seem happy about that. The look on his face is downright chilling. He pauses, choosing his words with cold deliberation when he speaks again.
Whatever you seek, it is very unlikely you will find it there. The cenobium's gates open for precious few visitors. Even if they did, you would not like what you found inside.
My heart sinks. Is he saying that I came all this way for nothing? Risked life and limb for nothing? No, that can't be. I've only just arrived, and Eridia is the largest city still standing. There has to be a cure for me here. Then if not the cenobium, where would you suggest?
Do you know anyone else in Eridia?
I shake my head.
Then I suggest a local guide. Head to the wet wick and ask for Leander.
Excuse me? The wet what?
The wet wick.
He sounds deeply unamused. Like, I know, just, it's what it's called, alright? Don't question it.
Follow the postings advertising Leander's bloodhounds. They are difficult to miss. When you meet Leander, tell him I sent you.
That isn't much to go on, but Kuros points towards the clinic's back door.
You will be safe, so long as you do not draw attention to yourself.
That's easier said than done. I've always been a magnet for the worst sort of attention.
If you require my assistance, you may return whenever you wish.
Though he's smiling, there's a note of finality in his voice. Resigned to my dismissal, I slip out the back door. Alright. Well, it's not so dismal in here, at least. I find myself standing in a narrow and rather gloomy alley. Oh, sorry, it's gloomy. I pull the new cloak up over my nose, stepping over the contents of chamber pots that have been emptied into the street. Something weighs heavily inside one of the cloak's pockets. My coin purse. Everything is still inside. Every last coin that I'd scraped together for the journey to Eridia. It doesn't even look like it was opened. There were so few coins to begin with, they probably weren't worth stealing. I glanced back at the clinic's closed door. Kuros didn't take any payment. He didn't even ask for a future favor. But he also said that in Eridia, secrets are power. Does he expect me to give up mine at some point? That's not exactly a comforting thought. Still, no matter why he did it, Kuros gave me a second chance and a lead on where I might find help. I'd better get going before he changes his mind. I squeeze out of the alley and into the crowded main street. The line outside Kuros's clinic stretches down the road already. Two thin peddlers queue alongside weathered elders. If any place is in desperate need of a free clinic, it's this one. The cobblestones are treacherously rough under my feet, deep grooves worn between them by regular flooding and decades of hard use. I knew Eridia was a river city, but I didn't expect it to look so eroded. The buildings are tired and dilapidated, all crammed together in narrow streets. A child darts by, clutching something greasy wrapped in paper. The smell of fried food drifts over to me. My stomach gives a faint gurgle.
This morning's catch! Fried up, hot and fresh. Not too many eyeballs today.
That sounds disgusting. But I'm starving, so I duck my head under the stall's grubby awning. A large fish leers up at me, its 3 bulging eyes still visible through the thick layer of crispy batter. The vendor gives me a gap-toothed grin. What's the cheapest thing you've got? The vendor points at a metal basket of what looks like long strips of savory fried dough.
Fresh long lads. 3 copper apiece. Don't burn your mouth.
I take the coins out, counting them gingerly. At this rate, I might not even be able to afford dinner. Reluctantly, I drop the payment on the counter and take my meal. 2 streets later, I pass under a wrought iron archway adorned with dangling garlands of red and pink lilies. The buildings in this quarter are a dizzying riot of color, painted walls and tinted glass everywhere I look. I just love how everything looks, it's so pretty. Sheer red and pink curtains flutter in open doorways. Musical voices call out invitingly. Incense mingles with the pungent scent of flowers barely covering the salt and musk of warm bodies. This must be Eridia's entertainment district. I'm polishing off my food and dusting the crumbs from my hands when I spot a poster. It features the silhouette of a smiling man wearing a single dagger-like earring, and the word Bloodhounds printed above his head. A motto, as above, so below, circles the artwork. If Leander is the leader of the Bloodhounds, then the face printed on the poster is likely his. I follow the line of identical posters around a corner and nearly hit my head on a precariously dangling wooden sign. Looking up, faded orange letters read, "The Wet Wick." The facade of the building looks like it's seen better days, but I hear faint music and laughter coming from inside. Those are giant bottles, my goodness. The inside of the bar is a far cry from the abandoned exterior. It's not even midday, yet most of the tables and booths are occupied by a loose assembly of people in matching green cloaks. There's a lot you can tell about a city by its dives. This one seems ordinary enough, even if the uniforms are unusual. A cursory glance doesn't turn up anyone with a dagger-shaped earring. I'm about to head towards the counter when a chant rises from the center of the room.
Show! Show! Show!
The remaining green cloaks abandon the bar and their booths to rush towards the center of the room in a sudden torrent. There's no time to move out of the way. I'm caught, swept along in the ale-stench current. Hey! Rhythmic chanting drowns out my voice. I thrash, throwing out my elbows as the press of bodies grows heavier. My hip knocks into a table. I grip it, holding on tight to steady myself, but the crowd has stilled, the chanting stopped. A pair of gilded boots stride across the tabletop. Hello?
Seriously, you dogs. Again.
Scattered laughter and cheers rise from the audience. I drag my eyes upwards. Oh, hello. A well-dressed man stands on the table in front of me, his broad shoulders framed by the thick lapels of a trench coat and a dagger-shaped earring.
This really is the last time, all right.
This time when he speaks, the audience falls silent, as though bewitched by his magnetic presence or rich, low voice. But nothing is as captivating as his smile. He beams at the crowd around him, a performer on his makeshift stage.
Don't blink or you'll miss it.
He laughs, and the dagger-shaped earring dangling from his left ear catches the light in a flash of gold. It would seem I found Leander. He raises his hand above the audience and snaps. A flash of pale green light. Real magic, no ordinary stage trick, blinds me. Ooh, fancy. As the brilliance ebbs, my gaze refocuses on the mage towering above me. He flicks his wrist, and the magic spiraling around him coalesces. A delicate flower stem sprouts from between his pinched fingers. One by one, glowing lily petals spring forth. Oh, it's my favorite flower. No, my weakness. With a flourish, the mage presents the conjured flowers. The audience bursts into clapping and cheers. A genuine magic show was the last thing I expected from a place called the Wet Wick. Leander plucks the iridescent bouquet out of the air and turns in a slow circle, giving his audience a good look.
Now who could use some good luck?
Eager onlookers scoot closer to the table. Some reach for the lilies, while others whistle and call Leander's name. But his cool, green eyes slide right over them, locking on me instead.
How about you?
My chest tightens. Every person gathered turns to stare at me. I reach out, all too aware of the way my fingers tremble as I carefully take the flowers from him. There's no weight to them, only a faint warmth that radiates from the stems. As soon as the flowers leave Leander's hand, their light dims. They fade away into a shower of opalescent light. To my surprise, Leander laughs under his breath.
That's the problem with flowers. They don't last long, but they leave an impression, right?
He grins at me, and I find myself smiling back. Man, he does have broad shoulders, holy. Leander steps off of the table, dropping among the excited crowd with an audible clink.
All right, bloodhounds. Get back to your drinks, show's over.
The green cloaks disperse at his command, returning to their tables and booths. Before I can make my way towards Leander, his eyes find me. He gives me a friendly wave, then beckons me over to the crowded counter. I manage to squeeze beside him, but there's so little room that his broad shoulder presses against mine. I tense, but he doesn't seem to mind at all.
Is this your first time in Eridia?
He says it lightly, with a genuine air of curiosity. Do I stick out that much?
No, but I'm certain I'd remember seeing a face as lovely as yours around Lowtown.
My eyes flicker to the polished countertop. I'm not used to flattery, and being this close makes eye contact difficult. As if on cue, the bartender approaches us. What can I get you?
Surprise me, and add anything my friend wants to my tab.
I wasn't expecting the generosity, but I have to admit I do feel a little thirsty after all that fried dough. I'll have what he's having. While the bartender leaves to fix our drinks, Leander leans his elbows on the counter. I'm close enough to notice the purple shadows under his lower lids. His eyes wander over me in return, but when they lock on my bandaged hands, a sour taste rises in my throat. Here come the questions.
So, what brings you to the wick?
Kuros sent me. He pushes his hair back from his forehead, but it immediately falls right back into place.
So, it's about work.
The bartender returns with a pair of glasses filled with what I can only assume is beer. I raise my glass and give it an experimental sniff. It smells faintly yeasty, but with an undercurrent I can't quite place. A quick sip confirms my worst suspicions. It's awful. Somehow briny and sour in a way that reminds me of pickles. Pickle juice. But any thought of complaining dies the moment I look up and see Leander taking a deep swig from his glass. He lets out a satisfied breath.
How can I be of assistance?
I need to get to the cenobium. As soon as the word cenobium leaves my mouth, the entire bar falls silent. Well... Bloodhounds twist around in their seats to gawk openly. Finally, an especially drunk one speaks up. How are you bringing out the cenobium in here?
Throw him out! This is bloodhound territory!
The vitriol catches me off guard. From the angry looks thrown my way, it's clear I've broken some unspoken rule just by mentioning the cenobium. When I glance at Leander, he's drinking as though he hasn't noticed the uproar. Only when he catches me looking does he lower his glass.
For the love of...
He drags a hand down his face.
Hey, keep it down, will you? This is business.
I tense, expecting an argument, but the outspoken bloodhounds silently return to their drinks. Only a handful continue to watch me warily.
Sorry about them. The cenobium's a bit of a touchy subject in these parts. Mix in enough drinks and, well, you saw. How about we continue this outside?
When I give him a terse nod, he pushes away from the bar counter. I'll just leave my pickle juice behind. My alcoholic pickle juice. I follow Leander to an alleyway tucked behind the wet wick where layers of frayed bloodhounds posters have been plastered to the walls. Seeing them side by side, the resemblance between Leander and his likeness on the posters is impressive. Did they get his nose right?
Kuros didn't send you here for help with the cenobium, did he?
From the look he gives me, he already knows the answer. I glance away. No, he didn't. He suggested I find an alternative.
Yet here you are asking about them anyway. What do you need the cenobium for?
I don't want to tell him about my curse. The less people know about my capabilities, the better. Thankfully, Leander takes my reluctant silence as an answer.
Well, I see you're already aware of the city's currency. Information's worth its weight in gold here. Kuros told you the truth. The cenobium's dangerous. Get on their bad side and they'll imprison you if you're lucky, or torture you if you're not.
But the cenobium's supposed to be a place of learning, a sanctuary. The cenobium has always been heralded as the last bastion of human knowledge, a shining beacon of hope in a world steeped in nightmares. If any place held answers, it would be the cenobium. That's why I came here.
That's what they want you to think. But things that seem too good to be true are often just that.
Such a simple statement, and yet it leaves me reeling. If it's true, if I staked everything on a lie, then what now? Leander clears his throat.
But as I always say, there's solutions to every problem, and alternatives to every solution.
He claps his hands and turns to me with a brilliant smile.
That's why Kuros pointed you to the Bloodhounds. Let us help you. Whether it's hunting soulless, finding people, or recovering stolen valuables, we can do it all. And free of charge.
I'm shaking my head before he's even finished his practice speech. My patience is wearing dangerously thin. Listen, I appreciate the offer, but my problem can't be solved by a group of good Samaritans. To my chagrin, Leander nods slowly.
Then your problem must be fairly serious. And if the cenobium's your first choice, you're searching for a magical solution, aren't you?
When my eyes widen, he nods along as though he suspected all along.
I'd be happy to help you out. That is, if you'll tell me what ails you.
Leander might not work for the cenobium, but he is a mage. And a powerful one at that, if his demonstration earlier is any indication. Is that an indication? We don't know much about magic. I'm silent, plagued by indecision. I don't know if I can trust him, but it's not like I have any alternatives. I hate to admit it, but this could be my only path forward. My confession comes out in a pained whisper. I'm cursed.
Cursed? Oh, now I'm very curious. What kind of curse? Something ancestral or more recent?
He looks me up and down, taking in my face, my eyes, and finally my hands.
It's your hands, isn't it?
I wait until I'm certain my voice will remain steady before answering. My touch is dangerous. It changes people, hurts them. Before I've even finished, Leander begins taking his glove off. He tugs his right hand free and flexes his fingers.
Let's see it.
He offers me his hand, and a prismatic flash of magic ripples across his palm, but I'm already shrinking backwards. I can't. I don't care how confident Leander is, I can't bring myself to hurt him, to see his kind face twist into a mask of madness. Believe me, this isn't an ordinary curse.
I'll be fine. Perhaps where you came from, your affliction was strange and one of a kind. But spend a year in the city, you'll see 1,000 curses and thrice as many cures. Do you really think Kuros would send you here if I couldn't handle it?
How should I know? I only met him today.
I'm as good as any mage in the cenobium. Better, even. If they can help, so can I.
You don't know what you're asking me.
I'm asking you to trust me.
I look from Leander's outstretched hand to his confident smile. Then, with a short breath, I begin unwinding the bandages from my hand. Fine. But if you lose control, don't say I didn't warn you.
You can tie me up first if it makes you feel better.
Whoo, boy. You do not say that with a blush, sir, owner of the wet wick, whatever. Nope. With each joint I expose, I grow more and more certain that this is a terrible idea. Phrasing.
Ready when you are.
If he's bothered by the way my hand looks, he doesn't show it. My fingers hover shakily over his palm. 3, 2, 1. I hesitate at the last second, but Leander does not. His hand closes tightly around mine. The instant his fingers graze mine, his expression goes blank. Ominous music stopping is ominous. Leander? I try to pull away, but he won't let go. My stomach sinks, fear clutching me even harder than Leander's grip as he takes a slow, deliberate step closer. His free hand rises, outstretched fingers angling towards my neck. No, you're...
Just fine. Interesting. That's one hell of a curse.
His hand lands gently on my shoulder to steady me. I didn't even realize I was shaking. Okay, I'm impressed. I search Leander's face for traces of madness, but his eyes remain a clear, soft green. Color rises in his cheeks, but he remains still except for the subtle bobbing of his throat. Why are we looking at that? Neither of us speak as I trace the contours of Leander's palm, lost in an awareness I wasn't prepared for. I mean, how long have you been has it been since you've been able to touch somebody? Ever? Ever, ever? I've been with other people. Kissed them. Been embraced by them, and more. But not like this. Oh, interesting. Okay, alright. My fingers, long deprived by years of bandaging, pick up every single detail. The grooves of his palm, the smooth shell of his nails, the pulse of his heart. For as long as I've lived, I've never been able to hold someone's hand. Not without dire consequences. I never realized what I was missing until this moment. You could say I'm touch-starved. While Leander's pulse is steady, mine is hammering as fear gives way to excitement. My hand glides over Leander's wrist and up his forearm, where smooth skin abruptly gives way to the raised scar by the edge of his sleeve. It matches the one that runs from his collar to cheekbone. Could it be the same wound? I glance at Leander's face, and his lips part as he considers his words before speaking.
Am I the first person you've been able to touch like this?
My hand goes still on his arm. So far.
I'll admit, your touch does make it somewhat difficult to stay level-headed, but not due to your power.
He takes my hand. His soft green eyes flick to mine before he turns to inspect the golden fissures crisscrossing my knuckles.
Look, we match.
He points at a golden pin on his coat collar, and I give him a small smile. Man, this guy just knows how to steal your heart, though. Sheesh. I draw my hand back and take a steadying breath. My head feels as though it's stuffed with cotton. Habit alone guides me through the motions of rewrapping my hand, although my fingers tremble too much for the bandages to lie flat. I can't believe that worked.
May I ask your name?
I'm Gothica.
You were right to hide this from me, Gothica. That curse of yours. It's unlike anything I've ever dealt with. I can tell you're discreet, but you'd best not go showing that off to anyone else.
I didn't plan on it.
Are you staying in Lowtown?
I pause. Room and board was something I hadn't yet considered. I don't know.
Let's get you properly settled then.
Okay, alright. The wet wick is noticeably quieter. Without their leader, most of the bloodhounds have dispersed, or in a few cases, fallen asleep beside their drinks.
Got any rooms left, or did my lot crowd them all to sleep it off?
The bartender, who I now realize doubles as an innkeeper, slides a key onto the counter. You know I always keep the corner room open for your escapades. Leander's laugh sounds slightly strained. Escapades, eh?
And I always appreciate it, but you're mistaken. This is just for my friend Gothica.
Sure. Stay as long as you like. You two have fun.
Escapades, huh? Leander clears his throat, then holds the key out to me. But I hesitate. My coin purse barely holds enough for a day's worth of meals, let alone a room. How much do I owe you?
Nothing. Bloodhound rates. My treat, since you shared your secret. Food, drink, a warm bed, anything you need.
Carefully, I take the key from him. It's small, but weighs heavy in my palm. I never expected to have a warm bed in Eridia, let alone free meals. I planned to steal whatever I needed to get by, no matter how dangerous. Thank you.
Go explore, Gothica. You'll find many roads in Eridia, each leading to different answers. But if you need a reprieve from what haunts you, come find me. Just be careful.
I nod, taking one last look at the gleaming bronze key before tucking it into the pocket of my cloak for safekeeping. Leander gives me one last friendly wave before I depart. Alright. The air clings, sodden and heavy. Without the morning crowd, the sunless streets look barren and bleak. Even the peddlers are long gone. Only a pair of crows remain quibbling over stale crusts in a gutter. I feel a ridiculous pang of envy. At least they've got reason to fight. I've never felt so lost. Kuros and Leander both made it clear that the cenobium can't be trusted. But I came so far, endured so much. I need to see the cenobium for myself, if only to satisfy my curiosity. I should have asked someone at the bar for directions before leaving. Uh-oh. I'm about to turn back when a shadow passes over me. A cloud, I think, until a puff of hot breath tickles the back of my neck. Stranger danger. The shadow runs down the street in rivulets. Formless dark spreads like ink into blotted shapes. Claws stretch. A muzzle splits open to reveal long, jagged teeth. A growl rumbles so low and deep I feel it. I want to run, to scream, but I feel trapped as though the slightest movement or a single breath will snap the jaws around me shut. No, I won't let it end like this. If I'm going to die, I want to see what got me first. I steel myself, then turn. Hiya! The shadow vanishes as quickly as it came. I'm left standing in the middle of the street, alone except for a figure reclining in the shade of a nearby stoop. Okay. What? Are you a fox boy? What are you? A monster! That much is clear from a glance. One that could nearly be mistaken for human were it not for the tufted ears, the tail curled around his ankle. This music! Gosh, I want to dance a tango so bad right now. Or the dusk pink eyes with pupils that sharpen like needles when they fall on me. Our eyes meet and the monster uncrosses his long legs. His hair gleams a shade of red that reminds me unsettlingly of blood where it curls around his collared throat. Jumpy, aren't you? His tone is so light and carefree that I glance over my shoulder to make sure he's speaking to me. When I look back, the stranger props his chin on his knuckles and regards me with an inscrutable little smile. Didn't you see that shadow just now? It was massive, moved like a beast. Even as I speak, I'm aware of how ridiculous I must sound, but the stranger's smile doesn't falter. The only beasts I've seen are the wick's drooling regulars, though this did catch my eye. Okay. You pickpocketed my key? Hold on. I was hoping I could, like... I want to see, like, what's happening here? Are you wearing, like, booty shorts? What's going on? I see, like, there's, like, skin happening here, and I want to know all about it. For science. Only. With a flourish of his hand, my in-room key appears dangling from his finger. It turns on its chain, glittering when it catches the light. My hands fly to my cloak's pockets, and sure enough, find them flat. You just stole from a thief, how dare you? He crooks his finger, beckoning. I've already taken 2 steps forward before some stifled instinct stops me. Something feels wrong, I don't know what it is. I'm still on the edge, thrumming with so much adrenaline that the stranger's shadow flickers at the edges of my vision. I always attract the worst kind of attention, but I can't get rattled now. Who said that key's mine? He smiles wide enough to reveal pointed canines. I saw you drop it. You really should be more careful. City like this, somebody might take advantage. A bald-faced lie said without a hint of irony. I can't figure out how he picked my pockets under my nose, but I'm certain he took my key, and I need it back. I approach the man, careful to keep an arm's length away. He doesn't look dangerous, but the most deadly ones never do. The stranger's chain softly clinks with the tilt of his head. His ears flick. Keeping your distance. Until I figure out how you managed to rob me? Yeah, I am. You think I stole your dinky little key from all the way over here? He gives an exaggerated sigh.
I'm good with my hands, but not that good. Do I really look like a common thief to you?
He's got me there. The sheer fabric of his sleeves alone would be too expensive for most street thieves. Hell, his shoes look like they cost more than I spent traveling here. And then there's the shop behind him. No matter the city, parted pink curtains only ever mean one thing. I'm not looking to buy, and I doubt I could afford your services anyway.
Luckily for you, I don't charge.
Does nobody charge for anything in this city? What is the economy like here? The man runs the tip of his tongue over a fang, and for the first time since I stepped into that shadow, I feel something other than dread. My face grows hot. Oh boy, we're in trouble. That's not what I meant!
I'm flattered, really. Were sex my trade, I might make an exception for you. How about half off for a handy...
Or you could just hand over my key.
Ask nicely, and I might even let you tug my tail.
Just throw it here?
So some spindly little street urchin can snatch it and run.
He raises my key and tilts his head so he can watch it dangle back and forth.
I suppose I could just claim your room for myself. Not that I'd be caught dead, slumming in the wick with the rest of those slack-jawed imbeciles. You're obviously not from around here. So tell me, traveler, what misfortune brought you to this wretched place?
His voice practically drips with derision. I'm not telling you anything.
What could have possibly drawn you to this dreary little pig pen, I wonder?
He listlessly watches the arc of my key swinging around his finger.
The weather's shit, the food's dreck, and there's entirely too many monsters for a human to feel safe. Unless...
Dagger's sharp eyes flick towards me. They gleam with amusement.
Unless you're just dying to consort with monsters.
By now, my embarrassment has worn away, leaving simmering impatience in its place. If this is a shakedown, it's the most frustrating one I've ever experienced. Ooh, our first option. Okay, I wanted to get to an option. Oh gosh, I don't know what kind of boy this is. Well, you know what? They said save often. I'll just make a save. We're gonna fail horribly at this, but I'm going for it anyway. How did you know that I spent all my money, starved, and nearly died in a swamp just so I could crawl into bed with the first thirsty monster I saw? That earns me a burst of breathy laughter. He gazes at me under his dark lashes.
Aren't you funny?
Could you be any more obvious?
I have been told subtlety's not my strength. So, your place or mine?
If only I had my key. Then I might be able to invite you up. His languid gaze glides from me to the key in his hand, and back.
Come, take my hand and we'll go together.
The more he flirts, the more convinced I become that this is some kind of trap. No matter how innocent monsters look, they always have tricks up their sleeves, I should know. And something tells me that this one's more dangerous than he lets on, even if he has a lovely laugh. I don't know what you want or why you're messing with me, but I'm not coming any closer until I know you aren't going to attack. Or bite.
I won't bite hard, unless you beg me.
No matter what I say, he finds a way to twist my words into innuendo. Gosh, there are so many boys that call to my heart in this game. I've only met 3 of them, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. Even when I'm silent, he goes on as though we're having a conversation, not a standoff.
Do you like dancing? There's a traveling troupe performing in Hightown tonight. Their luteus is utterly exquisite, truly a performance to die for. There's life in this dreadful place, if you know where to look.
You sound like you know the city well. The man's gaze flickers from me to the key dangling from his finger.
Naturally. This dump was little more than a miserable little smear when I first arrived. High town, low town. I know Eridia like the back of my hand.
What about the cenobium? Do you know where that is? His smile vanishes.
Surely you've seen it. That absurdly large tower looming over the rest. It's a little hard to miss.
He must mean that spire I noticed when I first caught sight of Eridia.
The cenobium's overrated. Forget about it. I can show you things those stuffy boars in their limp dick tower couldn't even dream of.
I've already got plans.
Oh? Have you some pressing matters at the cenobium? Lunch dates with librarians? Tea time with the most esteemed abbess?
That's my business. What's it matter to you? I square my shoulders and the amusement bleeds out of him.
Your loss.
The stranger, finally bored of his tedious game, extends his hand towards me. The key rests on his palm, neatly dividing skin and leather. When he makes no other move, I reach for the key. But as soon as my fingers graze smooth brass, his hand springs shut around my elbow. Hey! He yanks me down and I stagger, my soul slipping on the steps. For a sick moment, I fear my bandages will unravel under his touch, but he's careful not to disturb them, even as his fingers dig into my arm. Ooh, look at those eyes.
I knew I smelled blood. You reek of death in the road. And that fucking doctor.
His voice, once silken, lowers to a smoky growl. The shadows around him seethe and boil as he pulls me closer.
And something else.
He murmurs against my throat, nose grazing my jaw. Let go! I try to twist away, but he doesn't budge. His breath trails down my neck, sending a thrill of dread through me. But just when I fear he'll bite, he takes a deep whiff instead. His wide, flat eyes gleam with naked hunger as he gazes up at me.
Not quite human, not quite monster. Seems we're both.
There! The stranger's ears flatten, and he releases me with a short breath. I yank my arm back, massaging it where his grip left grooves in the bandages. The stranger twists around to watch a woman duck out from the curtains behind him. Her pressed uniform bears the insignias of the cenobium. Interesting. I leave you for all of what? 10 minutes, and you're making trouble again. Will you quit harassing the tourists? The stranger, there, I take it, rolls his eyes and flashes the cleric a withering smile.
So suspicious. Can't you see this is a friend of mine?
A natural liar. He grins at me and his tail swishes minutely. The woman purses her lips at me, clearly unconvinced. I open my mouth to correct him, but Veer cuts in.
I was graciously offering my dear friend some free advice.
Though his voice remains light and cheerful, his expression darkens.
Danger's drawn to you like a moth to flame. It will always find you given time.
The woman clucks her tongue as though she's heard this recital 102 times. Word of advice. Don't take free advice from lazy foxes lounging in the streets. This crook could sell water to a drowning man for the sheer enjoyment of it. I figured as much, so he is a fox boy. She shrugs off a wilting look from Veer. Oh, please. Any friend of yours knows it's true. Now hold still. Veer rises gracefully at her approach. He pushes his hair aside so it drapes over one shoulder, exposing the long line of his neck. And suddenly it dawns on me that the jingling I heard earlier wasn't coming from the harness. The harness? Yes, the harness. The harness attached to his collar, but a leash. A heavy iron chain wound around a hitching post and padlocked to the back of his collar. Veer posed deliberately to hide his leash from me. Interesting. The woman produces a key ring from her pocket. She rifles through a dozen identical keys before selecting one and slotting it into the lock. Come on! Unless you're friends tagging along on our merry little soulless hunt. They're hunting for soulless inside the city? Words momentarily fail me. The woman regards me with a polite if tight smile before marching down the stairs. Veer lingers. He stretches his arms over his head with a yawn, and I try not to stare at the way his stomach flattens when he arches his back. Uh-huh.
Your little secret's safe with me. Try not to get yourself killed,
Veer hops off the stoop and off the stoop. I cannot speak anymore. This boy has stolen my tongue. Hops off the stoop and bounds after the woman. His tail sways merrily as though he hadn't just lied and threatened me.
Did you try that thing I mentioned? The Leventian knot?
That's the one where you take 3 fingers and... Actually, don't tell me. Knowing you, it's disgusting. Veer's eerie laughter echoes down the street. It's only after he and the cleric have vanished from sight that I realize I'm still missing something. You gotta be kidding. Wait! Reflexively, I shove my hands into my pockets and find it. The room key. So he pickpocketed it back onto us. I ease the key from my pocket and smooth my thumb over its teeth as I try to recall a touch, a tell, or any hint of Veer's sleight of hand. But I can't figure out how he did it. Okay, interesting, even with our thieving background. All I know for certain is that the Cenobium saw fit to leash him. A fate I could share. If that's what his vague warning meant. I let my eyes drift skyward past the lanterns gently swaying in the breeze to the Cenobium, faintly visible through the haze. Just one glimpse is all I need, then I can put this all behind me. This time the key goes into my coin purse for safekeeping. Don't know that's really gonna help, but you can try it. Okay, I think with that, I wanted to meet all the guys, but I'm already like over an hour into this, and there's at least 2 more to go. Yeah, there's definitely 2 more to go. Man, I enjoyed the heck out of that. These characters are super engaging and, attractive, to say the least. Like, wow. I am having a hard time with the 3 that we met. Never mind adding another 2 into the mix that no doubt are also going to try to steal my heart, so... Whew, no wonder, absolutely no wonder that this has blown through not only its funding for Kickstarter, but all of its stretch goals save one. So definitely well deserved. I am going to be watching this project like a hawk, because I'm definitely going to play this when it's finished. It is fantastic. And I'm probably going to have my heart broken into multiple pieces. But anyway, that's neither here nor there for now. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this, I am going to post a link both to the Kickstarter in the description as well as to the demo. You can play it either on Steam or on itch.io. So yeah, check it out for yourself. You can go further than I did. Not flirt with the fox guy, flirt with him. I won't judge. And please go and support these guys because, man, they have something special here. And I can't wait to play more of it. But that is it for me for today. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, I will see you later.